All right, we're gonna be upgrading our 2008 to 10 cluster to a 2011 to 16 cluster with the screen, with the menu, and we're also gonna be doing odometer correction on this as well. All right, guys, so let's get back to the F350. I know it's been a while. I haven't started her in a while, haven't driven it in a while, so let's kind of jump right into it and get to work. All right, so I had to load up with some junk and I gotta run to the dump. But about a month ago or so when I started her, she did have a leak that I noticed on the bottom. And I think it was coming some from the valley on top. And I think it's diesel, I don't think it's oil. But what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna do a cold start just to get her warmed up, run to the dump, and then I'm gonna show you guys the leak. All right, so I ran her to the dump, and now let's take a look where the leak is dripping. We got a little puddle here on the bottom. It seems like it's dripping from the back of the block somewhere, and it looks like it's possibly dripping from the. It looks like it's possibly draining. It looks like it's dripping from the drain valve. Let me get a flashlight, and we're gonna take a look a little bit closer. All right, let's see. We have some dripping here. Goes into the valley. And then it's dripping on the back of the valley, down the block. And yep, it's the. I'm pretty sure it's one of the O-rings. Let me look from a different side. I'm almost 100% sure it's one of the O-rings on the drain valve. Especially with diesels, if you don't use them too much, you know, they start drying out, and I don't drive this truck that much, so yeah, we got some dripping here. Yeah, it's either one of the rings. There's 2 or 3 O-rings on the drain valve, and I'm pretty sure it's one of them that got maybe dried out and starting to leak. And we got a puddle here on the bottom, dripping right behind the block. And here we go. Yeah, so I have to fix that. I gotta order the O-rings and get that fixed. So while we wait for the O-rings to come in, let's jump in on the cluster. So a quick recap. I got the dash. It was a 2010 dash. It was a manual dash with the cluster and everything manual. And this is the cluster that it came with, the 2010 dash. The miles was 170, I don't know, 174, 76, around there. So it was higher than my truck. My truck has 138,000 miles. So when I got this, I installed it kind of temporary. And then I started looking on eBay for another one. So this is a 2010. So then I bought a 2011 11 to 15 cluster. It had 138,000 miles on it, which is exactly what my truck has, but it doesn't have the screen with all the options and stuff. And I can make pretty much the buttons work and the new cluster to work with the menu screen. So that's why I'm not gonna use this one. I'm gonna use a different one. And I finally ended up with a 11 to 15 cluster with the screen. So I'm gonna have all the options. And then later, I do have a steering wheel. I just gotta swap over the buttons and make the steering wheel work and all that stuff. So that's for a different episode. But on this episode, the miles were off on this cluster. So Lewis from Swaphelper now is offering miles correction service. So when you go to swaphelper.com, there's a miles correction service. You send it in, and that's exactly what I did. I sent my cluster into him, and within I think 3 days, he was able to correct the miles to match my truck, and then he shipped it back to me. Because when I bought this cluster, it had 115,000 miles on it. My truck has 138, so I didn't want to be, misleading anybody. So that's why I sent it to him, and he corrected it to 138 to match my truck. So now let me quickly show you what you need to do to go from the 2010 8 to 10 cluster to an 11 to 15 cluster by using the swaphelper.com cluster helper. Basically, what you do on this, if you're going to use 8 to 10 cluster, you put in this port, and if you're going to use 11 to 16 cluster, you put on top. So I was using 8 to 10, so I had in this port, and I'm going to swap it over to 11 to 16. And now it's ready to use the 11 to 16 cluster. And there's one more thing that you need to do inside the truck, and then you can pretty much plug and play the 11 to 16. If you're gonna use 8 to 10 cluster, you ground one ground, but if you're gonna use 11 to 16, you gotta ground both of the grounds. So basically I just kind of connected them together, grounded to the same point on the bracket that I made for the fuse box underneath the steering column. So basically the module comes with a bracket that mounts to the original 2 holes right here. Then you mount the module right here. You plug it in like so, and then we're gonna put it back in the truck. I still got my boost wires that I gotta run. Let's see. All right, like that, and then we're gonna try to plug this in. And we should get a blue light, blue status LED light. Okay, we got a blue light right there. No wires pinching. All right, here we go. All right, now let's see what we get. Okay, we got our little menu. We got our miles matching the truck. Everything is working, all the lights are on. I don't have my buttons connected on the steering wheel. None of these buttons are connected yet because I'm going to be actually redoing the steering wheel to the newer one, and I'm going to be swapping over the buttons and making them work on both sides so I can go through the menu. But so far, we're good. And then I'm going to run my wires to the boost gauge, and that's going to show me PSI over here on the dash, on the cluster. All right, so in the next episode, we're going to be switching our stock 2001 headlight switch with the 11 to 16 headlight switch, and we're going to be using the Swaphelper headlight module to make that work, because you can't just really plug and play. You can't just solder the wires in. You need the Swaphelper module to make this work, and that's gonna pretty much fit in here nicely. That's gonna be stock looking, and then I'm gonna finish up the other panels up here because I still gonna have to do some wiring for this, because it does come with the whole kit, the instructions and everything. So that's going to be some wiring involved. So we're gonna put that for our next episode. And then on the episode after that, we're gonna be dealing with the steering wheel, with the buttons and the harness, and we're gonna get these buttons to work with the cluster screen. So we're gonna get that done, and then we're gonna tidy up the whole dash and finish all that up. But first things first, I'm gonna go ahead and order the O-rings for the fuel bowl drain valve, especially with the diesel trucks. If you don't drive them for a while, which I wasn't, the O-rings just start to dry out. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that done, fix the leak, and then we're gonna start working on the steering wheel, on the headlight helper, and tidy up the inside and do more mods to the truck. All right, guys, so thanks for watching, and we'll see you next one.